Afraid you are everything that is wrong with the Labour Party because you're not listening. You're not listening to the people. They're like Homer Simpson and Marge. In fact, they probably could do a better job. Yes, he is.
First.
Yes, he is. He's showing strength.
Let's watch this sensational GB News debate that really turned into an absolute meltdown. Yes, when you have a political debate, you tend to bring in politically savvy people to lock horns with. Well, who did KGBBs bring in? Well, they brought in Fahima Mohammed, a life coach who has a BSc Honours degree in Business Management and a Masters in Psychology and Neuroscience of Mental Health from King's College. Well, who did they have her lock horns with? Which political powerhouse of the political world did they have so she could have a stimulating political debate with? That's right, the wife of former footballer Jason Cundy, Lizzie Cundy. What could possibly go wrong?
You're basically, projecting what you feel personally against the Labour Party.
I'm not. It's
but there's no other party that's done anything different.
Look at the hospitality business. Look at small businesses.
Over the last, 10 years, it's the same thing. They're just doing the same thing, and I don't see why we should bring it up like as if she's the only one and, the one that needs to be resigned.
I'm afraid you are everything that is wrong with the Labour Party because you're not listening. You're not listening to the people.
I think they are.
The hospitality business on its knees, like 8 pubs a week are closing. Small businesses are closing. You go down the high street, Sutton High Street. I was there the other day. Every shop is closed. This budget was all about saving her own skin and the Labour Party and appeasing the backbenchers, and you know it.
Every politician does it.
Yes. Recent data confirms that about 8 pubs a week are closing across England and Wales in 2025. Number of contributing factors like the tax burdens, because industry groups like CAMRA and the British Beer and Pub Association argue pubs have faced unsustainable tax pressures for years, including business rates and alcohol duty. And there's also the rising cost as well, like energy bills and food prices and wages have all increased, squeezing margins. Also, we have to remember changing habits, because like more people drink at home and younger generations seem to prefer more chalky guacamole type cappuccino instead. Also, you've got to remember the COVID legacy, because the pandemic hit pubs hard, with many never really recovering from lockdown losses. Also, you can't just ignore the current Labour government, because they have been criticised for recent tax hikes that may be worsening the situation. But however, the trend predates Labour's election. Closures were already happening under Conservative governments, with industry bodies warning for years that pubs were being pushed to the brink. So in other words, Labour inherited a sector already under severe strain, though its policies may be influencing the pace of closure though. Also, this nonsense about saving our own skin is just that really, and it's just nonsense, because let's be honest, every chancellor throughout history does that anyway, don't they?
They haven't been the same since they started. Labour has done everything.
They've lied since they started. I mean, we had Freebiegate. I mean, how long have we got? We've had Rayner, Lord Mandelson. I could go on all day, one after the other, every week. It's constant. They have lied to us consistently, and the people are sick of it. Do you know what? They're not only not reading the room, they've lost the room, and this government aren't fit to govern anymore. I tell you what, we've lost our faith, and how can we believe in a chancellor who has just lied to us? We can't trust her. She has to go, and with that, Keir Starmer has to go. They're entwined together. They're like Homer Simpson and Marge. In fact, they probably could do a better job. But if she goes, he will have to go too.
Yes, that's a level of political discord at KGBB's. Homer and Marge Simpson nonsense. She complains about Freebiegate. Well, she must have had the fit of the vapours about the recent £9 million donation that Reform UK received recently. She also mentioned Rayner, and I bet she must have torn a strip of Farage, when they crossed KGBB meetings in the hallway, about his house in Clacton. And she also spoke about Mandelson. I bet she'll have been spitting blood over Nathan Gill receiving money to spout the same Russian propaganda that Nigel Farage has been spouting for years. And then she mentions the Chancellor lying. Well, not according to Professor David Miles, member of the Budget Responsibility Committee.
My point, Professor Miles,
Yes.
if I may, for the last question, between the time when we were told by the Chancellor of the bad news and the moment on the 14th of November when the Treasury had to clarify to the gilt market because they reacted so badly that there was good news in the Office for Budget Responsibility forecasts, the impression that was created was a false one, wasn't it?
Well, it's certainly true that there wasn't any immediately good bit of news in that particular window.
Yes, it was
I
false.
don't think it was misleading for the, if I may, my own view, I don't think it was misleading for the Chancellor to say that the fiscal position was very challenging at the beginning of that week. Whether a message was then put out to say, well, it's less challenging by the end of the week, I don't know, and I don't know where that message would have come from. It certainly didn't reflect anything that was news from the OBR being fed into the government.
Also, Chair, put your foot down, because this so-called debate has now turned into a unhinged rant from a woman who clearly thinks that a debate is where she fills a void with hysterical rants, like this one.
So I'll put this to you, Thema, because it's. I think what Lizzie's tapping into is a feeling. It's a feeling amongst people in the country that crime is starting to soar. And actually, it might not. You might be right. It might be a generalisation, but people are seeing two things happen. They're seeing crime soaring and migration soaring at the same time. And it's very difficult for people to inexplicably take away that connection. And so what people are saying is, and I think this is where many British people are feeling quite desperate about this situation. It's like, actually, crime is spiralling. I feel unsafe. Women and girls feel unsafe, particularly because of illegal migration, where there's lots of men in hotels, and we've seen some horrible cases of that. Why won't the government do something to stop that? And I think that's where the root cause of this comes. Do you agree with that sentiment?
You know what? You talk about people that are scared. I myself, being a visible Muslim woman, there have been reports to say that the crime against people like myself is on the high, but no one seems to care because I'm of a different ethnicity and background and faith, and I am a British citizen. So at the end of the day, it is not just about saying that these crimes are happening and this is something that, the government not doing anything about it. And there are many groups that are fearful, including myself. But of course, it doesn't matter.
Well, could I point this to you? Because Shabana Mahmood said that actually she thinks that racism is rising as a result of the illegal migrant crisis. And that's kind of what I'm tapping into there. And I think she's got a point. When people see these stories, when there's people in Britain who throw racist abuse at people perhaps like yourself, Fahima, we should call that out. They're our problem. We should be dealing with them robustly.
Exactly.
However, when there's men who've come here illegally, illegal migrants, they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here. We haven't invited them here. They've invited themselves. They're put up in hotels. Then they commit a crime. Do you see why people are starting to feel that?
I absolutely hear you, and I do agree with that. The thing is, everyone's just brushing everyone under the same blanket. For me, we already have laws, and the process just needs to be where it's not a backlog, and we have to be stricter with those individuals'
But
punishments.
sadly, the illegals are already criminals. They're coming
they
over.
all are
They
not,
shouldn't be
Lizzie.
coming over on
No,
boats,
they're
throwing
not.
away their
Most of them are
documentation.
actually approved.
What Trump
That
is
is
doing?
wrong.
No, it's not. They're
Well,
coming
well,
over on
they're breaking
boats.
the law by
They're
coming
coming
here
over by
But
boats.
they're not
They're
being
coming over
criminalised,
illegally.
and they're not put in jail straight away, so they're not criminal.
They throw away their passports. They come over. They shouldn't be coming over on boats. They should be doing it the legal way.
There's
And what
no
Trump
legal
is
route for
doing
them.
is putting his country and people first, and that's the first
That's
order
why he has
of
7
any.
million
That's
people
the first.
protesting
Let you
against
talk.
him.
Let me talk. It's the first order of any government is to put its people first, and Keir Starmer isn't doing that.
He is doing that.
He is not.
And even I am no fan of no Labour or any party at this very moment in time, but I think what's been said out there, that's the problem of the racism, immigration, is the rhetoric and the propaganda, and also blaming it on one sort of ethnic minority or anything like that. There are problems in this country faced by every person. It doesn't come under a label of ethnicity and whether they come from a different country. And Trump
is putting his
own
country
problems.
first, and that's
please,
what
no,
he's doing.
Not. He's putting
Yes, he
himself
is.
first.
Yes, he
he's
is.
Putting himself first.
He's showing
No,
strength,
absolutely
and that will be a
not.
deterrent for other people to do the same thing.
Definitely
yes, it
not.
will.
There you are. She's a fan of Anons, who was convicted for being far too handsy with a certain young lady. Also, Fahima Mohammed, like I said about Aisha Ali Khan, got it right this time. Stop going on this crappy channel because you won't win people over here because nobody with a rational mind will be watching this utter guff of a channel anyway. It's full of idiots who want to be scared of brown people and certainly won't care about your fears of being attacked because of the colour of your skin and your religion. You're there to be simply ridiculed and mocked. They're there to watch the unhinged rantings of a lunatic woman whose only claim to fame is being married to a former footballer, telling them to point a menacing finger at all brown people like your good self and go through all the right-wing talking points for all the tinfoil hattie-wearing conspiracy theory thickos who watch this guff. Also, when you do appear on KGBeavers, and this is my personal view, you're just giving this ridiculous channel legitimacy in my eyes. But what do you guys think? More sensational GBnews debate to descend into an absolute meltdown ever? Let me know down below and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.